Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of the Vinyl Den. My name is Nick, and as you can see, I'm here all by myself. Ian is not going to join me for this episode. I just wanted to kind of follow up on our previous episode where we discussed some of our kind of rare albums that we had. And if you are a fan of our podcast, the Life in General podcast, I had talked about in the episode last week that on the next episode of the Vinyl Den, I was going to discuss an experience that I had going back to my favorite record store. The first trip post, coming out of the lockdowns and everything. And our last episode of the Vinyl Den kind of ran a little long. I didn't really get to it, and so I kind of wanted to do this kind of solo episode, kind of tell you what happened, my experience, and kind of also open up something I just received in the mail. It kind of goes along with the story. Um, so the record store I go to most frequently, it's in Dearborn Music. It's called Dearborn Music. It's in Dearborn, Michigan. They've been around since the 50s. They're in my opinion, the best record store in the state of Michigan. And so last week, I believe it was Tuesday of last week, they opened the doors kind of for the first time, I think, since February or March, when everything first got kind of locked down. So I went out there, just because I love going through records. I love flipping through them, and it's a very therapeutic experience for me. So I was going through the record bin, and I found a copy of the Beatles Yesterday and Today, which it's if you're not familiar with this album, it came out in 1966. It's a very famous album because it was uh, the 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 cover you typically see is this one. They call it the trunk cover. This is also the release that had the very collectible Butcher cover, which, if you don't know, it was a very kind of strange album cover the Beatles released. It was very similar to this one, but the Beatles were sitting around in butcher coats, and there was slabs of meat and doll parts surrounding them, which, in 2020 doesn't seem all that crazy, but in 1966 it was it was a kind of there was an uproar, kind of outrage against the album cover release. This is obviously, several years before Alice Cooper came out and was doing anything really shocking. So this is obviously not an original from '66. This is a reissue from 1988. Beautiful copy, but I found this at the record store, and so they have like a collectible records bin. So I was kind of flipping through the records, and I came across what I thought at first was a Butcher cover. If you don't know really anything about the Butcher cover, it's there's three states to it. So first state Butcher cover would be the unaltered first pressing of the album when it came out. So when they released the Butcher cover, initially, I believe they went out to like some Beatles fan clubs and record executives, people in the music industry got this album cover, the Butcher cover. And like I said, there began an uproar kind of against the kind of oddness of the album cover. If you really think about it, 1966, if you go online and look at the Butcher cover, if you've never seen it, it is a very strange album cover. And so first state Butcher covers are the unaltered versions of that first pressing. And those are kind of rare to come by. And if you do come by them, they're very expensive. I've seen them go for several $1,000s online. And they're like I said, they're pretty rare to come by, especially out in the wild. You probably never see one out in the store. And so there's also a second state Butcher cover, which is Capitol Records, when they went through and they decided that they were going to change the album cover. They said to themselves, we've got all these album covers laying around. We don't want to really have to destroy them and then remanufacture new ones. So they took this trunk cover and pasted it over top of the Butcher cover. So if you find one of those out in the wild, and it's kind of funny. I was reading an article not too long ago that actually called the butcher cover the most popular rare album, because they're actually pretty. There were so many of those pressed, and those second state butcher covers you can find it. I was reading an article by one guy who was talking about he's found 12 or 13 of them at garage sales and things like that, because it looks like this. You really don't know what it is unless you really know what you're looking for. So those are called second state butcher covers. Like I said, they're pasted over. And then you've got third state butcher covers, which are second state butcher covers that someone took and peeled this sticker off the front of it, because they just took this photo and they just pasted it over top of the album cover. And a lot of the third state butcher covers you're going to see are torn up. Most of the Beatles are missing off. I've seen some where you can only see like Ringo's head on the butcher cover. So those are a little bit easier to find. I think I've seen them online, and you can typically find those I've seen them go on eBay for $400 or $500, depending on like I said, the covers are pasted on, so it tears off quite a bit of the album cover. I have seen some third state butcher covers that look brand new, so I don't know how they were able to get the paper off it so cleanly. But if you find a third state in a really good shape, it's like I said before, that'll also go for $1,000, $1,200, something along those lines. I've seen them go for. So anyway, I was in Dearborn Music last week. I'm going through like I said, I was going through the record bin, and I get to the very back of the stack, and I see this album cover. And then I noticed that it was what looked like a pasted on cover. So immediately my thought is, well, holy crap, I think I might have just found a second state butcher cover. And I want to say it was like $16. So I took it off to the side. I started looking at it a little closer. And then there are a couple telltale signs. If you're out in the public, if you're out in the wild, you're at a record show, or you're probably more likely to find them at like a yard sale or something like that, where someone's selling off their parents' albums or their grandparents' albums, and they might not really know what they're looking for. But there's a couple of telltale signs to find a second state butcher cover. First off is going to be, you'll be able to notice, it's very easy to tell that there is a pasted on cover. So, and of course, this is not an original from '66, so it's kind of hard to tell on this one. But also, if you look in the bottom corner on the back of it, you'll see a logo, and then there'll be a number next to that logo. If the number is 1 through 6, those are the pressing plants where the butcher cover was pressed at. Anything higher than that, I don't believe any came out of those plants, but definitely 1 through 6, you might have a butcher cover. Also, if you flip it over, and next to Ringo and underneath the Yesterday and Today logo, you'll be able to see an outline. And what that is when they pasted over the butcher cover, Ringo's outline kind of bled through the cover. So if you see it's pasted on, you see a 1 through 6 in the bottom corner, and you see a outline right there. That, my friends, could possibly be a butcher cover. That'll be a second state. Like I said, if it's in good shape, you can get some pretty decent money out of it. They're collectible. People really look for them. It's something that, like, out of all the albums out there, that's like my holy grail to have and own. It'd be sweet to find one. I'll probably never have one, which is what brings us to this. So I was on eBay last week, I think it was early last week, and I found it's obviously a bootleg. I think it's pink. I think it's a pink vinyl. It's a bootleg butcher cover, and I was hoping to have this in time for our last episode of the Vinyl Den, where we're talking about rare albums. And it kind of got, well, with everything going on with COVID-19 and everything, there's understandably some delays going on in the shipping industry. So the post office kind of was a little delayed getting this to me, so I wasn't able to do it at that time and open it up on the episode. But hey, I'm able to do it now. So You see, I'm not, by the way, I just need to say that I'm down in my office, and next to my office, I've got like a nice bar area and a kitchen set up. But the only knives I have down here is this like big, crazy knife. So please don't think I'm some kind of serial killer. It's just the only knife I had down here to open this thing up with. So let's open this thing up and see what it looks like. Maybe. Packaging's pretty nice on it. I bought it from I think it's a private dealer out in California. I said it's a pretty decent price. Obviously, it's a whole lot cheaper than I would ever find a real butcher cover for. Looks like it's a pretty decent shape. Let's see if I can get it out of the cover here so you can see it a little better. First off, if you ever send an album through the mail, always try to send them separately, because the covers, if this box gets twisted a little bit and the cover gets twisted, it could warp or break the vinyl that's inside of it. So that's why I always request to have them shipped separately. So it's pretty nice looking. That's what the butcher cover looks like. It's obviously, like I said, it's a little strange. Yeah, especially for 1966, sitting around with a bunch of doll parts and slabs of meat. And if you look on the back, this is what I was talking about. There's this little logo right here. If you can see it, you probably can't, but it's got a number 6 next to it. So that would signify what plant this was actually pressed at. I believe all the butcher cover album covers were pressed in the U.S. And I think there was one plant in Canada that was pressing it. Outside of that, I don't believe any of the butcher covers were pressed anywhere else. So yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's something I can hang on hang on my shelf on the wall, and looks pretty cool. Let's see what the vinyl looks like though. It's 180 gram. At least that's what it feels like. Nice pink. It's I don't think the picture on my computer, I don't think really does it any justice, but it's a light purple and white swirl kind of color on it. It's pretty cool. It's got a nice capital sticker on it. Well, that's it. That's my fake butcher cover and my story of thinking that I found a very valuable album at the record store, but ended up not being the case. But hey, it's a good story, and it led me to find this beauty on eBay. But that's it, guys. Thanks for checking out the show this week. We've got another episode coming out on Sunday of the big show. Ian will be joining me. We're going to be talking about some vinyl record sleeves that I found and I've enjoyed. It's a company up out of Canada. Ian just ordered some too, and he'll talk about that during the episode. And that's about it, guys. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, and leave a comment. And that's about it. Peace, guys.